The phone world moved to a new battleground this week, seemingly, with Apple's launch of iCloud for syncing all your data, documents and media, and with ecosystems now taking a front seat. It all seems a far cry from my humble opinions about the merits of the phones themselves. Am I out of touch? At least it's all free anyway. Apple has also rolled out iOS 5, playing catch-up to a degree with Android-like pull-down notifications from apps such as email, calendar, stocks, weather, SMS, Twitter, etc. Android and Symbian-like over-the-air firmware patches without having to download hundreds of megabytes each time. There's camera and other shortcuts on the lock screen, a BlackBerry-like iMessage service to other iOS users only, naturally, and the ability to use a hardware key, e.g. volume up, as a camera shutter button, rather than having a real camera shutter button. But I don't wish to beat Apple up too much. They're good at implementing things well and seeing them through to the mass market, unlike some other companies I could mention. There's also a new application called Newsstand, a commercial system for newspapers and magazines to sell content. And here's something I like. iOS 5 adds native Twitter support in the camera, contacts, photos, Safari, YouTube and Maps. And there's also full tabbed browsing in Safari. Back in the Microsoft world, more and more features of the upcoming new version of Windows Phone, codenamed Mango, are being shown off. Text messages, Facebook chat and MSN are now all integrated into one seamless conversation system. The web browser will be based on Internet Explorer 9 and will use the phone's GPU for extra speed. Bing Local Scout, as it sounds, is a Google-like location-based eating, shopping, attraction search system, while Bing Vision is a bit like Google Goggles. Microsoft's Metro UI is really growing on me though, and these functions do seem to have been implemented very well. Mango will be a free update to all current Windows Phone users, apparently. Can't wait. Android Ice Cream Sandwich, which will probably end up as Android 2.4, has been announced by Google, with better multitasking, a quote holographic user interface, no really, more flexible home screen widgets, and most importantly the bringing together of the Android tablet OS, Honeycomb, and the phone one, Gingerbread. Anyone feeling hungry yet? In this show and on the Phone Show Chat podcast, we keep on mentioning LauncherPro, as if everyone knows what it is by now. Chances are that at least half my viewers don't know what LauncherPro can do for an Android phone, so here goes. It's a complete replacement for the default home screen and application launcher on an Android smartphone. You may ask, why do I need such a thing? Well, usually because the manufacturer, whether HTC, LG, Motorola, Samsung or Sony Ericsson, ships their smartphone with some we-know-best launcher that tries to either fit in with their dumb phones or copy the iPhone or differentiate itself somehow, when all the time us users, well okay, us geeks, simply want Android as Google intends it. In a nutshell, LauncherPro is the standard Android home screen and launcher on steroids. If you've got a pure Google device, then it's faster and adds extra functions. You get extra screens, a dozen custom widgets, which is designed to replace most of the bits a manufacturer would have added anyway, and which can be resized, Moto Blur style. No, wait, that's not much of a recommendation, is it? Anyway, a 5-icon dock that stays for each home screen, except that you can scroll between up to 3 alternative docks. You get the idea. But for me, the biggest feature, other than LauncherPro's very existence to save me from manufacturer Android skins, is the hidden apps function where you can toggle off the display of applications that you never or rarely use so that they don't show up in the ever-growing scrollable apps list. Very handy. Add in regular updates and a light free version that may in fact be all you need, and you can see why LauncherPro is probably the Android fan's new best friend. Having spent thousands of hours testing smartphones over the last few years for this phone show, I'm returning here to an old rant, but hopefully one with a philosophical and thought-provoking twist. You see, there are two crucial elements to a modern smartphone. Well, three if you count a preference for a particular operating system. One is a great screen, as large as you can manage, with the best possible contrast in as many different light conditions as is practical, e.g. on the Galaxy S2 I reviewed in the last show. We've seen this in the recent trend towards IPS, Super AMOLED, clear black display, Nova, and other screen technologies that really do enhance our phone use by making sure we can actually read what's on our fancy high-res screens, even in the sunlight. That's one rant I won't have to repeat, hopefully. The other element is how you get information into your phone, whether it's an email you're dashing off, or a new contact's details, or a blog entry or tweet, or a description for an uploaded photo. The issue is how quickly and reliably and enjoyably you can get the text from your brain
into your electronic brain and thence into your data store in the cloud or into someone else's hands. Back in the day from 2000 to about 2006, most phones had T9 keypads like this Nokia here. Even with predictive software to guess which word you're going for, entering anything significant was a major pain, and still is. I've been trying to live with this N86 again and failing for this one reason: text entry. In the same era, we had PDAs with styluses, resistive touchscreens, and on-screen virtual QWERTY, fiddly, slow, or gesture and handwriting recognition, laborious, error-prone, and slow. Oh, and we had the Nokia communicators with full QWERTY physical keyboards. I love these devices, and more on this later. Everything changed in 2007 when Apple introduced capacitive touch to the world with the iPhone, along with the concept of applying intelligent predictive software to virtual QWERTY input, i.e. your miss keys mainly get corrected as you type. Apple's implementation is basically flawless, and their virtual keyboard is the model that other OS have to try to match up to. I say try because Google's Android smartphones, like the Galaxy S2 here, are only just getting up to par with the iPhone's text prediction software, while Symbian's virtual QWERTY system only got any sort of text correction about 8 months ago and is currently lagging behind. Windows Phone 7, in its early state as it is showing excellent text correction thanks to innovative concepts like enlarging the detection area for the next likely characters that it thinks you might want. But even at its best, there are fundamental problems with trying to type on a piece of glass. Yes, it allows for one-piece designs that are cheap and simple and robust, potentially. But there's no real mechanical feedback. There's no satisfaction. There's no way to feel the top of the next key you want to use in order to cue it up as the next keystroke without looking. There's no way to build up a genuine keystroke rhythm. Number 2, you can only usually see a small part of the screen you're typing into because the keyboard takes up so much space. There's not even that much context to help you compose your thoughts. Number 3, the text prediction can only take you so far. Throw in punctuation of almost any kind, throw in names and times and slang and tech terms and abbreviations, and your input speed plummets. I've tried and tried and tried on the iPhone and iPad and Android and Symbian smartphones, and whenever it's time to enter more than a single sentence, even with all the clever software on board, my heart sinks ever so slightly because I know that to a greater or lesser degree, I'm going to be fighting the input method. The low-tech but obvious solution, of course, is to buck the trend and adopt a phone with a really good physical QWERTY keyboard. Teenagers like my daughter will point to their Blackberries. I'll point to the Nokia E72, bit of a Swiss Army knife phone. But the miniature key size and the corresponding tiny screen size isn't perfect for those like me with adult fingers and less than perfect eyesight. Again, I've tried, I really have. Which leaves us with a particular set of form factors, arguably even a niche. Sliders and hinge designs whereby you get a large screen and a full-length keyboard. The old Nokia communicator idea never really went away. There's a reason why this form factor keeps making a comeback. It's because for a sizable fraction of the phone-buying public, it's the only solution to fast, satisfying, practical, real-world text entry. And something really, really odd about this form factor, at least in the smartphone world, is that over the last few years, manufacturers keep messing it up, as if they're not putting much effort in. We had the T-Mobile G1. The less said about that keyboard, the better. We had the Motorola Droid and Stroke Milestone with a flat membrane keyboard. The Droid 2 wasn't much better. We had the Nokia N97 with a surprisingly great keyboard, but a poor screen and hamstrung in a dozen other ways. More recently, we've had the HTC Desire Z, a bulky beast with a very usable keyboard, only spoilt by key legend and assignment usability issues and by a slightly insubstantial hinge. And the Nokia E7, which is actually shooting this phone show. It's currently got my main SIM in it. Despite the non-expandable memory, despite the non-replaceable battery, the fact that I can deliberately completely overlook a number of big negatives is something of a testament to how insanely good the QWERTY keyboard and 4-inch screen and build quality is. And people's jaws do genuinely still drop open when I pop the screen up to reveal the keyboard that there really shouldn't be room for. But this isn't meant to be a Nokia E7 advert or even a mini review. And I'm not saying the touch-only advocates are wrong. I accept I may be in a minority here. But for me, having a physical QWERTY keyboard of a decent size entering text into a full screen interface is faster, more accurate, and more enjoyable. Hope versus confidence. You'll remember the title of this feature? With touch-only input and clever software, you can hope for decent recognition and interpretation of your screen taps, and many times you'll get exactly what you want and you'll smile. But with physical QWERTY, for all its extra mechanical complexity, I'm simply more confident that what I press, whether capitalization or punctuation or names, will appear on the screen immediately as is. You'll have your own views, of course. Send them in via email to the Phone Show Chat podcast, and we'll read some of them out.